hear the wilderness and it hears us. We hear the wilderness and it hears us.
So I've literally just watched episode 6 where Shauna has that traumatic birth, that traumatic labour. How does that incident manifest in older Shauna's life, obviously having lost the baby as well?
Yeah, it's such a huge part of her history, and it's manifested in so many different ways. Like, I think she decided after that she would never be in that situation again. She never wanted to have a child. She did not want to be a mother. She didn't ever want to be pregnant again, just the trauma of it. And then, you know, she was married, and at a certain point in her relationship, she didn't know the things that Jeff knew, you know. She didn't think he knew anything. So I think it was probably also partly because she couldn't keep defending her decision to not have a child, so she decided, you know, I will have a child with him. But she has had a lot of questions about how good she is at being a mother, you know, not really having wanted to do that, and the fact that the whole situation just brings up a lot of grief, I think, which is something she doesn't like to feel in general.
Well, she's been through a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
More than her fair share.
Yeah, so there's a lot of repressing, and this season it's coming out all over the place.
Yeah. Obviously, during that scene, she also has that sort of a dream of her life with the baby, and then only for it to be stolen by the Yellow Jackets and then devoured.
Yeah.
How important is that particular scene?
I think that scene really shows how loose her grasp is on reality and how difficult things are really getting for her. And just like the horror of what she's going through, her brain is just losing it. I can't think about it. It makes me so sad.
So, but it's definitely, I mean, it's not foreshadowing anything more sinister.
Wait, foreshadowing?
I mean, can we possibly have to prepare ourselves for another cannibalistic scene?
I mean, there's more cannibalism.
But away from that territory.
Oh, do you mean like, do they really eat the baby?
I mean, I'm hoping not.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, I was readying myself for this scene to be coming. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I think it's okay that I say that. No one's come in to stop me.
That would have been far too dark.
Yeah.
There are some very distinct parallels between your character Shauna and The Last of Us character Kathleen. I think you once described her as somebody who doesn't have a ton of humanity and who is very brutal, and at least in the brutal aspect, Shauna has the capacity to be. In what ways do you feel like they're different? Like, where do you think... Well, I'll let you answer that question.
I think they're really different. I think that Shauna is somebody who is just kind of a mess. Like, she's just living her life, doing her best, I think, to just get on with things and not feel anything. I think Kathleen is somebody who has been pretty judgmental throughout her life. I think she's a person who expects a lot of other people and is disappointed in people. I don't think Shauna's really disappointed in people. I think she's disappointed in herself. She takes things out on herself. And she just feels kind of fundamentally unlovable. I think Kathleen is a much colder person.
Do you think they've kind of both been shaped by the experiences in very different ways, or has Kathleen kind of always been that way, whereas Shauna had a more gentler nature before?
I think Shauna's a person who's always been drawn to danger and risk-taking and being a bit subversive, which is its own kind of thing. But Kathleen, you know, I had that great speech that Craig Mazin wrote in the bedroom where she says she's never been a good person. She was never a beautiful, wonderful person like her brother. You know, she had this brother who was described to me, it was as though he was Jesus.
Yeah.
Like just one of those incredibly kind, benevolent, wonderful people. And she's just like, that's not how you get things done, you know. She was always kind of a cold person. Certainly like growing up in very difficult circumstances, but, you know.
Obviously, we get two different versions of Shauna, younger and older. Did you and Sophie Nilles kind of collaborate on your interpretation of older Shauna, or was that something that came just from you and your interpretation of the character?
It was just from me. We didn't really, we didn't make any decisions together about like performance or anything like that. Yeah.
And did you take from the things that she had been from, or the things that you were aware of her character's kind of history, and kind of infuse that into your own portrayal of Shauna?
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have this kind of televised backstory and to see so much of the character's history. I think it adds so many layers when you're watching the adult versions because you understand what they've been through. But also, it's hard if we don't know that history. So that's the things that if the writers know any of it, I encourage them to tell me. You know, I'm like, if there's anything that you do know, like last season, the whole Jackie storyline. Yeah, I just said you have to be so specific with me. I really want to know.
Talking about the end of last season, the end of this season, I know that you can't give specifics, but what was your reaction to reading the finale script? Do you think fans will be satisfied?
I hope so. It's a good episode. It's a really good episode. It's just, it's sad. It's also really sad. But crazy. I just remembered a thing that happens in the younger storyline, and it's crazy.
They've been teasing a lot about this deity, this power that they've brought back with them. And obviously the darkness that they've brought back and the shameful things that they've done. Are we going to get an explanation to what this power is and a bit more of, I mean, I know they've eaten Jackie, but any more shameful things that they've done? Are we going to delve a bit further into it this season?
Yes. There's more, you know, as the season goes on, you see much more of, you know, they're living in the middle of the winter right now, so it's like things are getting really difficult. Yeah.
Are there any particular episodes that are worth watching out for? Like this is the episode. This is the one that we really need to focus on.
I would encourage people to watch all the episodes.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be so confusing if you just jump into like episode 7 or whatever. You'd be so confused. They all, you know, it's a similar thing to last season, I think, where it really like amps up. It's sort of in the middle, it just goes like this, and towards the end it's just bonkers.
It is a pretty kind of surreal, crazy show. What are the craziest kind of fan theories that you've heard?
I don't hear a lot of fan theories. I would have to say the thing about eating the baby, probably, because I have been asked that. To me, that is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'm glad they don't go that far. I mean, the dream was enough for me to kind of like recoil. There is a specific scene where Shauna is in the mechanic shop after her car has been stolen, and she talks about peeling back her skin and killing humans, killing people. She's pretty excitable then, and like the adrenaline is running. Can you talk me through what was going through her mind during that scene?
She, this season, has really been playing around with how much she can get away with. And inviting danger, inviting difficult situations. Also, I think for Shauna, when somebody underestimates her, when somebody dismisses her, it's very triggering. She gets very angry about that. So,
where do you think that comes from?
I think just being somebody who lived in someone else's shadow for a long time, being somebody who was ignored or told they weren't good enough, important enough, whatever. And I think she takes her power back whenever she can.
And why do you think she's flirting with danger so much, particularly in this season?
I think it's because last season she got kind of a taste of it, you know. She had an affair, and I think she liked how it felt.
Yeah.
That's bad to say, but, you know, the danger and the illicit nature of it, and there was something that made her feel very alive. And like she didn't know what the next day was going to look like.
And speaking of that affair, do you think that Jeff is really enough for her?
I hope so. Poor Jeff. Poor Jeff.
I know. Bless him.
Yeah. I do think that she's kind of impressed by his abilities. I think now she's kind of like, okay, I didn't know you were the kind of guy who would blackmail people. And it's not necessarily so great that her friends got blackmailed, but I think there is a part of her that's like, you know, respect.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So they're
He's
meeting
taking
each other on a
control.
different level. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I think finally, we've got this conversation going on at work where there's the yellow jacket with the antlers and the veil. And we've been speculating on who that could be. And obviously the most obvious choice would be Lottie, but somebody threw your name in the ring, Shauna, and said it could be. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you want me to just tell you
I
who it
mean-
is? I'm kidding. Can you imagine I would be taken down by a team of Paramount Plus
I think I'd have
publicists?
to body block. I'd have to protect you.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. There are some things I have to say that people seem very focused on that kind of surprised me. Like the thing with like, who's the girl who falls in the pit? And the pilot, everyone's like all interested in that. And
I think it's because she's wearing Jackie's necklace.
yeah,
And then Shauna has a necklace, so it's like, is this a red herring or is this
yeah.
something to watch out for? But do you think that Shauna has the potential? Like, does she have the capacity or the potential, or is it her nature to be the one with the veil, the antlers, the leader of all of this darkness? Or is she more?
I don't know how to answer that because I don't know if that's necessarily what that represents.
Oh, what do you think it represents?
I don't know. I'm probably not allowed to say anything. I also don't really know. I was the kind of the truth.